Hi everyone, welcome back to Abney Learning. Today's topic is the application timeline. So I'm going to be taking you through all the different parts, mainly the primary app, the secondary app, and the interview process. So talking a little bit about what each one involves and when you should be doing each of these parts throughout the year. So the first thing we'll be talking about is primary applications. So there's a few different parts of the primary app. So what is it? The first thing is your personal statement. So this is included in the primary app. And this is just an essay about basically why you want to go into medicine. So that's included in there. The second thing would be your letters of recommendation. So you have to have this ready for the primary app as well. And you can check out our other videos for more details on the letters of rec. And the third thing would be your description of activities. And so what these description of activities is basically all the activities up to 15 that you want to include on your application. You have to come up with short descriptions of them. So these three things together are what you're going to need to be ready for your primary application. So who does this go to? So it's really just one application, but it's sent to all the schools. So just one, and then I believe it's one fee, and then it sends to all the schools that you're applying to. And then when to submit it. So the important thing to realize is that this opens up typically around June 1st. It's usually at the end of May or beginning of June. It changes every year, so just look out for that date. So you want to have all three of these things up here ready for May or June. So that takes some planning ahead of time. Definitely have that ready. And the important thing to know is that although it opens in May and June, that does not mean that you have months and months to submit this. You actually want to aim to submit this by late May or early June, because the earlier you submit, the better chance you have of getting admitted to med school. So aim for this all to be done in May and June. The next thing is the secondary application. So these are basically just personalized essays. And when I mean personalized essays, I mean that each school is going to send you their own essays, and they're going to be a little different for every school to kind of explain to the schools why you want to go to that one specifically. So who it goes to is it's going to go to each school like by itself. So you're going to have to pay a fee for every school that you apply to, and you're going to send different essays to each one. And so this one's a little bit more involved in the primary application. So when to send this out? So you're going to start getting these anywhere from July onwards. And the important thing to know is that you want to have a turnaround time for each of these essays for about 1 to 2 weeks. So that means if you get it on July 4th, let's say, within 2 weeks, you want to be returning that essay back to that school. And the reason you want to keep this in mind is because by getting it back quickly, you're showing an interest in that school. And this can become quite overwhelming because a lot of schools will send them at once. So this can take some planning ahead of time. But just keep in mind that in July, in August, you'll be pretty busy with these secondary applications, and it is a pretty quick turnaround time. So that's a very busy time. The last part of the application timeline would be the interviews. So I believe the earliest interview invites come out in July and the earliest interviews happen in August. And these can go all the way up until, I believe, April. So this is a pretty long timeline. So that's when you should be expecting to get them. And in terms of hearing back, some schools are rolling, which means that you can find out any time after you take your interview throughout the year. So usually it's like 4 to 6 weeks after. You can hear back. And then the other ones are batches, which means that you could interview in October at a school, but they send everyone's decision in February, for example, even if you interview in December versus October. So those are the two types. So really interviews is the most vague part. You could really find out at any point, but the earliest you can find out an acceptance for a school is typically around October 15th. So just keep that in mind for the application timeline. And an important thing to realize is that, again, just like everything else, you want to schedule these as soon as possible. So if you have the opportunity to schedule an interview in a few months from now versus next week, it's always better to take the earlier interview date because then you have a higher chance of getting in. So that concludes today's videos. Thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you comment below any questions that you may have or any suggestions for future video ideas. Also, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.